There was a time when your pockets were filled with a flip phone, a digital camera, a chunky iPod, and zero shame. Welcome to Cringe Capsule. Symptoms include nostalgia, regret, and the urge to reinstall LimeWire. Remember a time when your phone didn't do everything? When you had to carry a separate device for music, for photos, for games, and God forbid, for actual math? Yep. We're rewinding to the glorious gadget-loaded era before iPhones turned our pockets into Swiss Army knives of technology. Back then, being tech-savvy meant clipping an iPod Nano to your jeans while texting your crush on a Motorola Razr using T9 wizardry, with a digital camera dangling from your wrist like a charm bracelet. Our backpacks were basically Radio Shacks on the move. This was a golden age of dedicated devices, of stuffing AA batteries into your Discman so you could listen to Now That's What I Call Music Volume 7 inches on the school bus, of blowing into your Gameboy cartridge like it was some sacred ritual, of uploading 87 unedited party photos to Facebook because, hey, they were all bangers. So today we're firing up that nostalgic glow and diving into the pre-smartphone arsenal of gear we absolutely couldn't live without. Each gadget had one job, and it did that job damn well. Until, of course, Apple came in and said, yeah, we'll take all of those and then put them in one box. This is Tech Gadgets of the 2000s, pre-iPhone life. Let's flip open that Razr and get into it. The flip phone and T9 texter, Motorola Razr and friends. Let's set the scene. It's 2005. You've got low-rise jeans, a layered tank top situation, and clipped to your waistband like the crown jewel of your entire existence is a hot pink Motorola Razr. This wasn't just a phone, it was a vibe, a status symbol, a fashion accessory. The Razr didn't just make calls, it made statements. You didn't end a call, you snapped it shut with the drama of a soap opera star storming out of a scene. That click was both punctuation and punctuation mark. And then there was T9 texting, a millennial rite of passage, you remember. Typing LOL meant pressing 555, pause, 666, then 555 again. Like some sort of sacred Morse code for teenage emotions. We got so fast at it, we could reply OMW from inside our hoodie sleeve during class without looking. Basically, covert ops, but make it middle school. These phones had polyphonic ringtones you paid for like they were precious commodities. And we're not talking generic tones. We're talking 15-second MIDI versions of 50 Cent and Avril Lavigne. You bought your ringtone with your own money. It was a form of identity. A digital personality quiz in audio form. And let's not forget the light-up antenna accessories or the little dangling phone charms shaped like sushi or sparkly hearts. We bedazzled our phones like they were Barbie dolls. Swappable faceplates? Yes, please. You didn't just have a phone, you curated it. And sure, the Razr had a camera. Technically, it had like 0.0003 megapixels and captured grainy chaos that made Bigfoot footage look high def. But we didn't care. We were snapping blurry bathroom mirror selfies and uploading them straight to MySpace. Feeling cute, might delete later. Wasn't ironic. It was our entire aesthetic. Oh, and if you were truly elite, you had unlimited nights and weekends. That phrase alone is a core memory. You waited until 9 p.m. like it was the countdown to the ball drop on New Year's Eve just to call your friend and talk for 3 hours about absolutely nothing. Looking back, flip phones represent a simpler kind of tech. You couldn't Google things on the go. You couldn't doom scroll for hours. You had maybe Snake, maybe Brick Breaker if you were lucky, and that was enough. The Motorola Razr was the moment. It was slim, sleek, and somehow futuristic and janky at the same time. And while smartphones have absorbed its function, they could never match its drama. Bring back phone slamming. That's all we're saying. The Palm Pilot, business casual in your pocket. Before the iPhone rebranded tech as sexy and social, there was the Palm Pilot. A device so utilitarian, it practically came with a tucked-in button-down shirt and a Bluetooth earpiece. If you don't remember the Palm Pilot, you're probably either under 25 or had cool parents. This little gray brick, which looked like a Game Boy's anxious uncle, was the height of productivity tech in the late 90s and early 2000s. It didn't make calls, it didn't take selfies, it didn't even have color for a while. But if you were someone who described themselves as a power user in 2002, this was your digital soulmate. The Palm Pilot was basically a PDA, personal digital assistant, for those of us who weren't important enough to afford an actual human assistant. It had a calendar, a to-do list, a memo pad, and get this, a stylus. Yes, before Steve Jobs declared war on the stylus, we were out here living our best lives, tapping tiny screens with plastic pens like it was the future. Using a Palm Pilot was part organization tool, part personality trait. People who owned one were the type to say things like, "Let me pencil you in," and mean it literally. It was clipped to belt holsters next to flip phones. Because yes, you needed two devices to feel like you had your life together. It was aspirational, like a Rolex for the startup class. If you had one, you either worked in IT, sold real estate, or were a 7th grader pretending to run a fake company for a school project. But here's where things got unhinged: syncing. Unlike the seamless iCloud auto magic of today, syncing your Palm Pilot to your computer was a full-blown ritual. You had to dock it onto a cradle, plug it into your beige Dell tower, and launch software that looked like a Windows 95 fever dream. Then you'd manually update your calendar and contacts so your Palm knew about your upcoming dentist appointment or what time your AOL chat date was set for. It was like feeding a Tamagotchi, except instead of dying, it just deleted your meetings. Oh, and did I mention graffiti? That was Palm's exclusive handwriting recognition system. Sounds high-tech, right? Except you couldn't just write. No. You had to learn a whole new alphabet made up of geometric stabs and slashes. The letter A looked like a triangle in distress. The letter R was basically a drunk P. It was less intuitive than Morse code and had the accuracy of a magic 8-ball. But we tried. We wanted to believe. There was something cool about pretending to jot down notes at a meeting while actually playing Snake, or awkwardly trying to beam your friend a contact using infrared. Beaming, by the way, was the original AirDrop, except it involved holding your Palm Pilot just inches away from your friend's device, like you were trying to make the world's most boring Horcrux. You had to align the infrared sensors perfectly, or it would fail. So the two of you would sit there in a silent dance of frustration, palms sweating, literally and figuratively, just to share one pixelated JPEG of a Dilbert cartoon. Palm even tried to expand the empire with the Palm Trio, aka the Frankenstein's monster of the mobile world. It was a smartphone before smartphones were cool, with a QWERTY keyboard and a resistive touchscreen that felt like tapping a soggy Rice Krispie. It ran early web browsers, supported third-party apps, and had email. But it also crashed more than Windows ME and made you look like you were emailing from a calculator. And yet, we loved it, because back then, the Palm Pilot felt like freedom, like control, like tech wasn't trying to hijack your attention, it was just trying to help. There were no push notifications, no infinite scrolls, no TikTok rabbit holes, just your calendar, your contacts, and a gentle reminder that you had your life slightly together, even if your stylus kept getting lost in the couch cushions. Palm's fall from grace came swiftly. The BlackBerry swooped in with its emails on the go and BBM cult energy, and then the iPhone arrived to flip the table entirely. By 2010, the Palm Pilot was a cautionary tale, a dusty relic in your dad's sock drawer next to an unopened pack of Bluetooth headsets and a USB stick labeled Taxes 2007. But its legacy? It's real. The Palm Pilot walked so the iPhone could sprint, and in a weird way, it's kind of comforting to remember a time when our devices didn't know everything about us. When personal data meant you manually entered your own damn contacts. When cloud was still just something in the sky. So here's to the Palm Pilot. Clunky, charming, and just insecure enough to need your constant validation. We don't miss syncing you, but we do miss feeling like we were the main character in our own low-stakes tech startup. The iPod and portable MP3 players, 1,000 songs in your pocket, mind blown. Before Spotify, before Apple Music, before AirPods and algorithm-curated playlists, there was the iPod. And baby, it was a revolution. Imagine telling a kid today, hey, this little brick holds 1,000 songs. They'd blink at you like you just handed them a rock. But to us, it was sorcery. We came from the era of carrying CD wallets the size of a laptop bag and having to choose what 12 songs would soundtrack your entire school field trip. The iPod, it said, no more Sophie's Choice, take it all. Let's talk about that click wheel. That satisfying scroll, that tactile little circle of power, flicking your thumb around that wheel to find the perfect Avril Lavigne song felt like using the Da Vinci Code decoder ring. And when you clicked, that click, so crisp, so final, a satisfying clunk of commitment. Yes, I am absolutely going to listen to Bowling for Soup's 1985 3 more times today. And don't even get us started on those white earbuds. If someone walked into homeroom wearing them, status, elevated. You weren't just listening to music, you were making a statement. You were cultured. You had taste. You were, in fact, probably burning mixed CDs with ironic titles like Songs to Cry in the Rain 2, and downloading tracks off LimeWire with file names like Green Day Boulevard.mp3 but actually Nickelback, the iPod Mini, an accessory, the iPod Nano, a pocketable powerhouse, the iPod Video, a miracle that let you watch 2-inch screen versions of the OC or Family Guy episodes on the bus, before buffering existed as a term, and the Zune. Okay, yes, we see you, Zune defenders. You were brave. But it wasn't just the tech, it was the ritual. Syncing your iPod on iTunes, sitting at your Dell computer meticulously organizing your library, rating songs 5 stars, making playlists like Summer 2006 Bops or For When I'm Mad But in a Fun Way. You weren't just a music lover, you were a digital DJ, curating your own emotional roller coaster with pixelated album art and time-stamped angst. We even had games. Remember Brick, Parachute? Played exclusively when we were pretending to study or trying not to fall asleep on the bus. They were basic, but we were entertained. And of course, the ultimate flex, having enough storage to brag. Oh, I've got the 80 gig one. Translation, I contain multitudes. I contain all of My Chemical Romance's discography and 50 Cent and the Garden State soundtrack. I am a complex emotional being. Looking back, the iPod wasn't just a gadget. It was a personality. It was our diary, our therapist, our hype man, and yeah, smartphones technically replaced it. But nothing has ever matched the vibe of putting on your white earbuds, pressing play, and pretending you were in a music video while staring dramatically out the car window. Gone but never forgotten iPod. You walked so Spotify Wrapped could run. Discman and portable CD players, anti-skip tech, and the mixed CD era. Before the iPod made music sleek and scrollable, we had something that was decidedly not pocket-friendly, the mighty Discman. Ah yes, the Discman, that chunky circle of joy that demanded dedication. Want to listen to your favorite album on the bus? Better have a stable lap, a good set of AA batteries, and the core strength of a gymnast, because one bump in the road and that CD would skip harder than a scratched-up GameCube disc. Still, we loved it. Why? Because for the first time, we could take our music with us, without lugging a boombox or hoping the car radio played something other than adult contemporary. And while early models were temperamental, later versions boasted anti-skip protection, which sounded futuristic, but really just meant your CD might pause for 2 seconds instead of jumping into the next dimension when you hit a pothole. Now let's talk accessories. First up, the CD wallet, aka the sacred binder of musical identity. Every page held choices that defined you. Did you carry Linkin Park next to Britney Spears? Did you alphabetize your burn mixes? Did you decorate your CDRs with Sharpie hearts and moody phrases like alone but fine? The CD wallet was our version of a Spotify library, except it physically smacked you in the shin when it fell out of your backpack. And those burned mix CDs, absolutely a love language. Making someone a custom mix meant you cared. Each song placement was deliberate. Track 3, the one that shows you have taste. Track 8, the one with the hidden message. Track 12, the dramatic closer. Forget emojis and voice notes. Burned mixes were peak emotional vulnerability. Let's not forget the headphones, foam-covered, wraparound, or the ones that looked like airplane gear. Bonus points if they were bright neon or had a volume slider on the cord. And the batteries. You needed a dedicated stash or else your Discman would conk out halfway through your Green Day album, leaving you with nothing but the sound of your own existential dread. Nostalgia time. Flipping the Discman open with that ka-chunk, watching the CD spin, hearing the slight mechanical hum before the music kicked in. It wasn't fast, it wasn't slick, but it was intimate. You didn't shuffle 5,000 songs, you immersed yourself in one album at a time, you read the liner notes, you stared at the ceiling while Third Eye blind played, convinced you were in a movie, and don't act like you never used your Discman while walking around your neighborhood, holding it flat like a pizza box so it wouldn't skip. That's called dedication, Gen Z. Legacy? The Discman walked so portable, listening could sprint. It was clunky, yes, but it forced us to pay attention to music, to live with albums, to commit. And honestly, that's why we remember it with such affection, because even though it was a technological diva, it gave us some of the most meaningful soundtracks of our lives. So here's to the Discman, our scratched, battery-hungry, pre-iTunes hero. Game Boy and handheld gaming, the original mobile gaming addiction. Before Candy Crush, before Clash of Clans, before even Flappy Bird, there was the Game Boy, that glorious gray brick, chunky, monochrome, powered by 4 AA batteries that lasted just long enough to make it halfway through Lavender Town before dying. And yet, it was magic. It turned long car rides, boring family dinners, and after bedtime under the blanket moments into epic quests. Let's be real, if you had a Game Boy, you were royalty on the playground, even if it only had Tetris in it, especially if it had Pokemon. That meant link cables, that meant trades, that meant battles, that meant rumors like Mew is under the truck, or press A+B right as the Pokeball wiggles. Half of childhood was myth-busting Game Boy rumors before Snopes was a thing. And don't get us started on the accessories. You had the worm light, because early Game Boys didn't have a backlight. You had the magnifier attachment, which made your Game Boy look like it was cosplaying as a microscope. You had the stupid speaker add-ons that made your tiny Tetris theme sound like it was playing in a tin can from hell. We were innovators. Later came the Game Boy Color, translucent purple or lime green, anyone? Followed by the sleek Advance SP, which finally gave us a rechargeable battery and a lit screen. We were living like kings. Then came the Nintendo DS and the PSP, which at the time felt like literal space-age tech. The DS had a touchscreen before the iPhone. The PSP let you watch movies on tiny UMD discs. You weren't just gaming, you were carrying a personal entertainment empire in your cargo shorts. But it always came back to the Game Boy. It taught us patience. You didn't have autosave, you had to find a save point, and if your mom said, "Time to leave," before you got there, you either risked her wrath or let all that progress go. Those were real-life decisions with consequences. It taught us problem solving, how to beat gyms, level up your team, find the missing piece of the puzzle in Zelda without Google. We figured things out by talking to other kids or just trial and error, like cavemen but with pixels. And it taught us social skills. You couldn't just add a friend code, you needed their literal physical presence and a cable. That's right, kids, Bluetooth walked so link cables could run. The legacy? It's massive. Game Boy wasn't just a toy, it was the foundation of portable gaming culture. Every mobile game today stands on the shoulders of that chunky little beast. And even now, hearing that nostalgic startup ping hits you harder than a critical hit from a level 100 Charizard. So here's to the Game Boy. For every minute it distracted us from homework, every battery it drained during family vacations, and every friend it made us through trades and battles, you'll always be our player one. The TI-83 graphing calculator, when math class became Game Boy class. Ah yes, the TI-83, required for algebra. Beloved for absolutely everything but algebra. Let's not pretend we bought this thing for math. We technically needed it to plot sine curves and calculate parabolas, but in practice, this was our secret gaming console, smuggled into math class right under the teacher's nose. While the normies were graphing y equals x squared, the cool kids were playing Drug Wars, Block Dude, or the calculator version of Tetris, acting like we were crunching equations while really trying to dodge falling blocks like our grade depended on it, and somehow it kinda did. Transferring games was its own mini-hacking operation. You needed a link cable, another kid who had the game, and at least 10 minutes of pretending to do homework while that gray screen loaded pixelated glory into your device. It was low-key an elite club. If you knew how to upload games or write little programs in TI Basic, you were basically the Bill Gates of 10th grade. And yes, we absolutely used it for educationally questionable purposes too. like programming it to solve quadratic equations automatically, or storing cheat sheet notes cleverly disguised as formula helpers. We weren't cheating, we were just maximizing calculator functionality. That's our story, and we're sticking to it. The nostalgia runs deep here. That awkward rubbery keypad with the A to F alpha keys, iconic. The soundless beeping when you'd accidentally hit a key during a test, stressful. And who could forget flipping it upside down and typing 58008 just to spell BOOBS, peak comedy, never not funny. Also, this thing was indestructible. You could drop it down a flight of stairs, off the roof into your locker abyss, it'd still work. The screen might get scratched, the batteries might die mid-test, but that calculator, eternal. Legacy-wise, the TI-83 was our first foray into coding, DIY tech, and modding gear for fun. And weirdly, it's still around. In a world of smartphones and ChatGPT, many schools still require a TI-83 or TI-84 because it's not internet connected and can't cheat. Oh, the irony. But for us millennials, it'll always be more than a calculator. It was the original loophole, a nerdy Trojan horse that let us turn the most boring class into something just a little rebellious. So hats off to the TI-83. Thanks for graphing our way to as, and for letting us play Tetris when life got too exponential. Digital cameras, point and shoot, bringing receipts before smartphones. Before smartphones turned all of us into 24/7 photojournalists, there was the point and shoot digital camera, your BFF at school dances, house parties, and that one time you and your friends took 45 identical selfies in a Denny's bathroom mirror for reasons that are still unclear. Brands like Canon PowerShot, Nikon Coolpix, and Fujifilm FinePix ruled our pockets and purses. If it fit in your palm and had a lens that made a whir click noise when it extended, it was elite. These bad boys ran on AA batteries, had like 6 whole megapixels, and took pictures with the kind of flash intensity that could blind someone in a dimly lit Chili's. Let's talk user behavior. You'd pose with your friends, cheek to cheek, peace signs up, arm awkwardly cranked out to get the angle. Then you'd review all 12 versions on the 2-inch screen and collectively decide which one had the least amount of double chins before declaring, okay, we'll upload this one. Uploading was its own ritual. Plug it into your family desktop computer with a USB cable or use a card reader, then drag those files into your My Pictures folder like a little digital archaeologist. Then came the hard part, naming the folder. Sleepover Bash 2, Besties Night Out, or simply New Album 47. And don't forget the unspoken rule, tag everyone, even if they blinked in every single photo. Also, the orange date stamp in the corner. Iconic. Half of our middle school memories are forever marked with something like 2005-11-6 in that pixelated font. Even the bad photos, blurry, overexposed, red-eyed gremlins, felt like treasure. Because we had taken them, curated them, and burned them onto a CD labeled Memory's Heart in glitter gel pen. And yes, video mode existed. Sort of. Grainy 240p footage with audio that sounded like it was recorded inside a tin can. But it captured legendary moments, school play bloopers, your friend doing a backflip off the diving board, or that cursed lip sync performance you wish didn't still live on someone's hard drive. Legacy? These cameras taught us about memory, both digital and emotional. We documented everything because it felt worth documenting. And there's something charming about looking back at those unfiltered pre-Instagram pictures. A time when no one cared about angles or edits. We just wanted to remember the moment, blurry or not. So if you've got a dusty old Canon stuffed in a drawer somewhere, pull out that SD card. Just brace yourself. You might unearth a treasure trove of cringe, but also pure, unfiltered joy. And there you have it. A time capsule of tech that walked so the iPhone could sprint. From frantically texting on T9 under our desks, to curating the perfect breakup playlist on our iPod minis, to uploading 87 nearly identical photos from a digital camera that had the audacity to date stamp all our bad angles. These gadgets weren't just electronics. They were our identity, our entertainment, our escape, our connection. Each device had one job, maybe two, and yet we carried them all like proud little tech Sherpas, unknowingly preparing for the day when one sleek rectangle would absorb their souls and make them obsolete. R.I.P. flip phone. You snapped with more drama than a real housewife. Our gadgets didn't have GPS, but somehow we always knew where to find trouble. This was Cringe Capsule. Time of death, December 31st, 2019. If this walk down gadget memory lane hit you right in your Nokia bricked heart, do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and let us know in the comments which device you couldn't live without, or the one you secretly still own. We won't judge your Zune stash.